Hello, my name is Ruth Busalaki and I'm the owner of Synergy HomeCare. And at Synergy HomeCare, we provide support for individuals who choose to live in their own homes. And we like to think of home care as the ABCs of home care. I like to talk about the letter D, which I think represents dignity of choice. And I can speak personally on that topic because prior to opening Synergy Home Care, I used to work for a social service organization and I helped support individuals who lived in group homes and assisted livings. And my role was to educate our caregivers on clients' rights. And clients' rights are all about being informed to what your opportunities are and your options are so that you can make choices. Every one of us should have the dignity of choice. So, while I was working for a social service organization, my father was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. And I knew from what I understood about Parkinson's disease that his condition would cause a decline and my mother would become his caregiver. And so I was determined in my role as their daughter to make sure that as changes happened with my father, whether they were subtle or large, or changes happened with my mother because she was the caregiver, when those changes occurred, that I would sit down with mom and dad and I would have conversations. Here's what I see going on, and here are all the options that you can have. And that's exactly what we did. For 8 years through my father's health condition, I would see subtle changes, or my siblings would notice changes, and I would sit down with mom and dad. And to be able to say, here are the options that you have, it gave my father, who had no control over his condition of Parkinson's disease, it gave him back some control. And there's nothing more wonderful as an adult child to be able to give back to your parents who gave so much to you. And it was that process that really helped me understand, perhaps that's what I can do for other people. I can help them make choices along the way because every single one of us has a different journey and every single one of us wants dignity. And so if you reach out to Synergy Home Care, we can sit down with you, we can talk about what's going on, we can give you options, and then when we bring in our caregivers are trained to notice those subtle changes so that we can sit down with you again so you can have more choices and more options. Even if those options mean at some point you're no longer using our services, our goal is to make sure that you have the dignity of choice. Whenever someone has a change of condition or they've got a new diagnosis, I believe that is the time to sit down and talk about what the future might look like. Having us come into your home, explaining to us what your immediate, what your short-term, and what your long-term goals are, it's so helpful because then we can spell out a couple of options in every one of those circumstances. Perhaps in the immediate, you don't need any support. Perhaps you don't need any support, but suddenly you have a slip and a fall on an icy sidewalk and suddenly you're in the hospital. Because you've had that conversation in advance, now you have choices. And you can say to the hospital staff who might be concerned about your returning home, you can ask them, what is it that I need to be able to get the right support so that I can go home and live safely? And more often than not, those supports can be delivered through home care. And once you've had that outline, that backup plan, you can then start planning with your family, letting your family know what your goals are so that they can also advocate for you. Making sure your finances are in order so that you can fulfill your goal to stay at home if that is your goal. Making sure your legal documents are in order so that, again, if you need that support, you have the dignity of making those choices for yourself. It all boils down to planning in advance.